What did you get for Christmas yesterday? Well, we're going to give you a little Christmas present today on Feedback Friday. We're going to critique some paintings. We're going to show you some new compositions. One new composition you've never heard of, which I'm going to show you today. Let's look at the paintings we're going to be giving feedback about right now. Okay, we have a beautiful, looks like watercolor. Next, we have a flower. Next, we have trees. Next, we have a camel. And then we have a river and a mountain scene. We got a lot of stuff today. All right, I think that's it. So today is Feedback Friday, and this is Art School Live. And the goal here is to help you learn about composition and to help you learn about making your paintings better. We're going to teach you the radiating lines composition today. But when you watch, what I want you to do is I put your hat on, your brain on, and I want you to say, okay, what would I do? When I show you a picture of a painting, I want you to go, here's what I think needs to be fixed, because that's how you train your brain, right? And then you'll see what I see and you will see what you see, and maybe we'll see the same thing. You never know. But feedback is a very important part of learning. We cannot see our own mistakes, so this is a good thing to do. And I can learn better from other people's paintings typically, so rather than my own. So you're going to see more clearly through the eyes of others, so we should get this thing started. We really should have a little Christmas music, but we'll just play the regular opening.
It's Art School Live with Eric Rhoads. Now, here's your host, Eric Rhoads.
I think technically I can still say Merry Christmas because the day after still counts. I'm thinking, because, you know, a lot of people are still doing their family Christmases, you know, throughout the weekend and so on. So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays, all that stuff. Welcome to Art School Live. Today is Feedback Friday. We're here every weekday at 12 noon Eastern with free art lessons, art marketing guidance, and feedback. And today is feedback. I publish art magazines. I've been doing this stuff for a long time. I work with artists. I work with galleries. I work in museums. I got my work in at least one museum and in a couple of galleries. And so I have a perspective as an artist and also somebody who judges art shows. And so I'm going to try to help you. But, you know, last week, I don't know if you saw last week, if you didn't go watch it, I like 3 people completely stumped me. I was like, I didn't know what to tell them. They were so good. They were so good. Now, the rule is you want to be kind always. You want to be constructive. You don't want to tear into somebody and then destroy their life. And I had people destroy my life when I was starting to paint. Well, they didn't destroy my life, but they discouraged me at the time. And, you know, a couple of instructors said, you shouldn't be painting. You're an idiot. Well, maybe they didn't say that. I said that. But that's what my internal talk was like, oh, Eric, you're an idiot. You can't even get an art teacher to tell you you can paint. Don't do that stuff to yourself. You can do this. So nothing's personal. We're just giving you ideas. And I'd like to get feedback in the comments too. I'd like you guys to go into the comments and say, hey, here's what I would do. Also, tell me where you're watching from today. And the big one, I want to know what you got for Christmas. You know, what did you get, if anything? Maybe you didn't get anything. Say that too. If you want to submit paintings, go to streamlinepublishing.com/feedback. And of course, if you make changes, please let us know. We'd like to see them. Are you ready? Let's do it. What's the first one? Okay, we have this watercolor painting, and it is it's a bushes scene, and it's really interesting. And I don't know what to do with it. It's really lovely. I like it. It's got you know, this delicate sense. These leaves got a little bit of sense of, I don't know, fog. I can see the sun coming through. And so really, really nice job. Let's go to the black and white version of this. First place I like to start is composition. Is there anything breaking any composition rules? Again, rules are meant to be broken. Sometimes you can do it. We don't have anything going this line. We don't have anything going this line. We don't have anything here. I'm thinking the sun on the black and white is probably here, but it may be dead center in the middle. We'll look at that. Pull up the color one again real quickly, and let's see if yeah, so it's not, it's this, okay, it's right about there. All right, so we don't have anything going dead center. And I think, you know, sometimes it works. We had one the other day that worked. We'll look at the tic-tac-toe board and we say, okay, where, okay, well, they have the sun kind of right in there. And that's a good, and the sun is probably the focal point in this. So this painting, if you were to turn it upside down, you might have a little hard time defining what it is. You can tell more in the color version than you can the black and white. So what I might want to try and do, and I don't want to be critical because I think this is really lovely, but I might want to try and figure out how to get a little bit more definition in some of these things in the front so I know what's going on. Get your good strong darks in the front. You've got darks here. Let's make sure I'm getting this right. We've got darks. Where are the darks? You got some darks in here. Got the strongest dark is in here. So it's a little dark in here. I try to get a little darker and then a little lighter as you go back. That'll help. Now we have, this is pretty good. You've got like a lot of variety in this line, and that's really nice. You're not trying to make it all look the same. You know, the temptation from a lot of people is just to do this, and that's boring. But you're not boring us, and so that's pretty good. And I would like to see, you know, again, there's color, there's focal point, and it's very tender. It's very lovely. This is interesting to me. I kind of like that, and this is almost doing a little bit like that, which is really an interesting, that we could call that the human figure composition, or, you know, put the belt on. There we go. That's the human figure composition. All right, so let's look at the color version of that. All right. So again, I really like this. I think it's really lovely. I would like to carry some of these greens up into here just a little bit more and make them stronger around the sunshine. And I think this smudgy area here, in watercolor, you're going to get smudgy, but I'd go back in and try to state in some of these things. And I think this is kind of my primary focal point. I would probably crop this a little differently. I'd probably crop it there so this is over to the side a little bit more, because it's a little close to dead center being right here. And so I might move this stuff over, but I'd try to get, you know, something really established in the front, so you can just tell. And then I might try to get a little bit of maybe some transparent red oxide or something, a little bit of ground color in here, just so that I can go. Now that may be snow on the ground. It's white, and it might be snow on the ground. So if it is, then maybe make me believe it's snow. And the way to do that would be to get some shadows in there. The other thing is look for where you want to lead the eye, because right now this is just kind of scattery. But if you have a place you want to lead me, then maybe you want to lead me here. Then maybe, you know, kind of do something like this with your snow and your shadows. Let's put some snow in there, never pure white, and maybe get some, you know, just a sense of some snow in there. The whites that you've used in here, and this, by the way, is 𝗙𝗍𝗄𝗃 in India. All right, love that. Thank you. What you probably don't get snow in India, I'm guessing. Maybe you do. But this white is pretty pure, and it reads color. It reads blue. Whites tend to go cool. So be really careful with that. If that's something that, if it's not snow, it's something. And I don't know what it is. Maybe it's water. If it's water, then, you know, get something in there that gives it a sense of some water. You know, maybe it's some color, you know, and maybe this is a marsh or something like that. And so you just have to define this just a little bit more. Got a nice reflection of the sky in there, and that's really lovely. But I am having a little hard time really identifying exactly what it is, but I like it. It's got a really nice abstract feel. I might pump up the intensity of the light on this just a little bit more. And I like the way you haloed it with just a little bit of orange. And so maybe just pump that up a little bit more. And then maybe what you want to do, your sky might look for a way to get a darker corner. Maybe it's still this color, but maybe it's a little darker over here, and then it's lighter over here, and then you just go in here and kind of finesse it and try to make it work, because it just give it a little bit more sense of dimension. I'm having a hard time with this one. Again, it's lovely. I just don't know exactly what. If I saw a reference photo, I'd probably be able to see what it would be. But I would just look for ways that I can just enhance a little bit more of, here's what it reads like. This maybe is, there's a stronger tree in the front or something like that. You've got some branches in here. And so just look for ways you can do that. And maybe even adding in a little bit of different color, because all of these colors in here are the same, and these are different. So, just go in there, maybe add a little variety into it. And I think it would be helpful. But anyway, I'm sorry I can't help more with that one. All right, next we have a flower. Now, we had a flower last week that had a similar problem. And this is trying to read it. Let's see if we can read it. Becky Bright in Texas. All right, Becky, I'm sorry about that. All right, so this one I think we need a little bit of help with. And so what's happening here is I'm feeling a little claustrophobic, right? It's just feeling a little bit close. The primary, it's less so than before. The one last time was like right there, and it just felt a little claustrophobic. But when you're doing a portrait of a flower like that, it needs to feel a little softer somehow, a little less confined. And so let's see if we can figure out what to do here. First off, we'll look at composition, and we're going to go, do we have anything dead center? We're pretty close, but we're not. You have your stem here, you have your thing here on that line. You might want to shift that down a little bit. That's what I would probably do anyway, is I would take this flower and I would move it down like this. Right. So and maybe the stem over here just a little bit in the center here. That I think gets it offset just a little bit. If you look at the composition of the tic-tac-toe board, equal thirds, one of these spots would be a really great place to shift the focus, of that, move the flower into here. And that's what I would do. The other thing is there's a lot of spots of white and a lot of spots of black. Darkest dark, right in here, right in here, right in here. But the darkest dark, I would think in this particular case, would be in the stem. And then I would also look at these are pretty hard edges. I'd soften some of these edges and see what we could do. And I would probably cool this back or maybe lighten it up a little bit in other places. But let's look at the color version. All right. Where did it go? Where did it go? Oh, there it is, right there in front of me. Okay. Now the color changes a lot, right? So I couldn't tell this in the other version, but there's two flowers here. There's one here. There's one here. And so there's a couple of things that are kind of bugging me here, Becky. And I think, first off, this is basically, if you squint down at it, it's so yellow and so green that it needs something to help it pop a little bit. So all these greens have a lot of yellow in them, and that's really supporting this yellow. And I'm wondering if we could just make this stronger by taking a color like this. Actually, let's go to the complement of yellow, which is purple, right? So what if we took a purple, maybe this color purple, let's try it. And let's just try not trying to put all that stuff everywhere, okay? That's the first thing, because what's happening is all that busyness is fighting this flower, and the flower really needs a lot of attention because it's a lonely flower. And so we could do that. Okay, just by doing that, even if you did that and you had a couple of these leaves down here, and maybe you had a little spot of green or something here and there, just a little bit here and there, that would help it stand out as a portrait. But if you go back in here, you could even you know, you don't have to put all those leaves and things in. What you're trying to do is focus on this particular thing. So you could do that and just make it a portrait of a flower with a backdrop like that and make it stand out a lot better. The other thing I would consider is you've got a lot of things that are fighting you here. So, for instance, you got a bright spot, a flower down here in the corner. You want to typically avoid putting anything bright into the corners. One of the artists I had on last week said, put cools in the colors and that in the corners, and that way they don't distract as much. And I have another artist who says, make one corner dark, one corner light, kind of a thing. So there's a lot of different things you can do, but you've got all this activity everywhere, and it's all just kind of fighting the flower. So what I would probably do is if you want to keep that activity in there, I would really go in and soften it up and just kind of really try to make it soften up. I don't have a big enough tool to do much with it fast enough, but the idea is just make it really feel like it's, you know, a little bit further away, and that will help make it read so that the flower isn't fighting it, right? Just make it feel like it's going off into the distance. And just by doing this little bit of softening, and we need to do a lot more than that, but this really will help this not fight the primary subject matter. Now, it doesn't mean you can't have some leaves down here in the front or something, but soften up that background like it's going into the distance. Let's see if I can find a tool that would do that. Airbrush. Let's try airbrush. Okay. So I'm just going to go, okay. I'm just going to go in here. Whoa, boy, was that a mistake. Okay. Well, you guys get to see me fail. All right, let's do this. Let's just go in here. Whoa, I don't know what's happening. Okay, this is not working. That's opacity, that's the size. Okay, so if I were to, this is a little hard to control. Let's just see what we can do here. If I go in here and I just make all of this a lot smudgier, softer, you see how everything just stands out a little bit more? And that's kind of the effect. You could leave some of these leaves in here, but the idea is that you have that sense of something going on back there, but your primary focal point, get rid of that flower. And now you've got something that you can work with. Now, the other problem that we have here is we have this other flower. And the other flower is kind of fighting this flower. So what I would do is I'd go in and I'd soften that flower up and make that flower kind of go into the background. And I'd probably put less detail, and I might try to gray it back a little bit or something, and then I would try to put a really good strong edge against it, even if that's not what you saw, because that will help it considerably. Because, and quite frankly, you know, the other option is just to take it out completely, because it's not necessarily adding anything, and it will probably give you a stronger portrait, right? Portrait of a flower. Now you've got a strong portrait of a flower. Now you want to look at your edges. You want to soften up. I'm just going to point out, you've got some hard edges and you've got some soft edges, and that's what you want to do. Is you want to kind of go soft, hard, soft, hard, soft, hard, all the way around it. It's because some things you want to have, like this is soft, it goes into the distance. This is soft. And then just work on, just work on practicing that. I think that'll make a big difference. Probably make this green. Okay, good job on that. Thank you. What's next? All right, now this is a really great example. This is JP from Canada. I don't know where in Canada, but this is a great example of one that reads well in black and white and color. Let's pull up the black and white. So the black and white, you can tell exactly what it is. You know exactly these are trees, and it reads pretty well. Let's do composition first. We'll go dead center. We're good there. Let's go into tic-tac-toe, equal thirds. Remember, I want you to figure out what would you do. And the question is, what is the focal point? I think this is the focal point, even though it's a double focal point. I think that's where the attention goes because there's two of them, not one. Now, the same thing, same principles apply, what I was talking about before. We'll talk values, but the values are pretty strong. They seem pretty good, pretty dark. I would probably look at getting rid of some of these white spots up in front. That just strengthens the painting right there, JP. And see how that just changes it quite a bit? It just makes it stronger. And you've got a really nice strong angle here. And then you've got another strong angle going on back here and here. And I like strong angles. I think that's good. You might want to try having a different angle back here, like that. So it's kind of creating something different. And or the other thing you could do is you could just make that horizon straight across there. That may not be what you saw, but that could change it as well considerably. So there's a lot of options. I don't know what these are. I can't tell what they are. They look like lily pads, but they may be something else. I would say that your trees are looking pretty good, but they're starting to lose some of their form as they go up here. So make sure you maintain that form. Keep a good sense of form, which the way to create form is a dark and then a less dark and then less dark and then less dark, right? That's form. So it has that rounded effect. And then sometimes you can take just a little bit of that dark and put it again on the edge there like it's receding. And that's a really good way to create form. And so you've done a pretty good job of that. This is a really good example right here. You got good form going on right here. So let's look at the color version of this and see what we can learn from it. Oh, the snow. All right. I thought they were lily pads. Okay, a couple of things I would point out to you here, JP. First off, where do you want the attention to go? The snow is distracting. So let's make the snow less distracting. Let's just make it have more snow. All right. And instead of having these snow pods, let's just have more snow in here. And this is snow and shadow. And you get a little of that shadow here and there. And I would just probably carry it, all the way up here because you've got little pieces of it, because the pieces are distracting. And see how much stronger that is, just like that. And just take some of these spots and you can create a sense of snow here and there. You don't want to put these white spots too far away from your area that you want to draw attention to. If I want to draw attention to these trees, then I would probably look for a way to get a really nice white spot in the snow in a couple of these places. And then I'm looking to, again, a little yellow in your white. I'm looking to enhance the light a little bit more on my area of focal point, which is maybe these three trees. And then this one here, I'm going to gray it back just a little bit because I don't want it to be drawing all the attention. I want these to be drawing the attention, right? And you could even, if you wanted to splash it with light, if you got a good strong light in there, then just, look for an opportunity to get a little yellow light in there. And you could see how that yellow light really works well. I love painting birch trees. They're a lot of fun. And whoops. Now, the other thing is when you've got light, you've got to make sure that the things, you've got indicators of light. So you've got all that light going into those trees. So maybe what we need to do is to enhance the light at the top of these weeds. Maybe not everywhere, but maybe some spots right around the composition area so it reads like light. We'll also have all these splotches of brush strokes back here. And I think what I would do is, I think they're fine, but I would probably just soften that back, take your brush, soften that back so that it's not fighting it. I'm a big proponent of not fighting backgrounds, and sometimes backgrounds are just nothing but problems. And so now these trees stand out a lot more when you just soften that stuff up. Now, one of the things that you want to make sure of is that this doesn't make people too uncomfortable with the angle. But I think this works really well. And then just look for, you know, in these trees, just look for little spots where you can put some of those more of those little marks. And the nice thing about those little marks is you can make them kind of half round, so it kind of helps see where the tree is going, right? And so you can do that. Now these look a little black to me, and by the way, they do get kind of tar looking, but they also have, typically, I have a bunch of birch trees where I live, and you know, they have a little bit of color in them. The other thing is birch tree branches, I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of them are alizarin crimson. So, you know, if you have an opportunity to put, oops, I didn't get the right color. You have an opportunity to put a little alizarin crimson in, then, you know, you can, that's not quite right. Let's get this. Something like that. You can do that. And then, you know, what you might want to do is just, there's probably a couple leftover leaves, and you might want to just put them like right around your focal point, right? So maybe a couple of leaves right around where you want people to look. But anyway, I think it's really beautiful and it's lovely. I think just making that foreground and background different will help quite a bit. And that's really nice. And I like the spacing where you have 3 and then 1. Typically, you don't want to, typically I'd have 3 and 2 because you don't want even numbers. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you add a 5th, that would help. Okay, what else do we have? Okay, we have a camel. This is a first for me. I've never had to critique a camel. This is Elaine M, and I don't know where Elaine is from. And the black and white version of this, first off, this looks like a lot of fun to paint. And I think that, you know, we're seeing a common thread today, and that common thread, see if you can figure out what it is. But let's play composition first, okay? Now, we don't have anything dead center. We don't have anything on either of these axis lines. That's good. And if we go equal thirds, we basically have your composition, your primary focal point is that eyeball, right? And I like this composition. I think this is kind of fun because you kind of takes you all the way across. And I think that's really clever. You know, the other option is just to do the opposite of that and have that sticking in there and then have all of this space. And that wouldn't be good. I think this is really nice. And you get to show all these cool things that are hanging off this camel. I think, you know, your drawing looks pretty good. Your values look pretty good. I would be careful about these dark values. You've got good dark values here. You're creating some sense of form here. I think you need to create a little bit more sense of form in a couple of these places. Let's go into the color. That'll make it easier to do that. This looks to me like it might be, I can't tell actually what the medium is. It looks like it's watercolor, but it looks like there may be some other things in there too. I can't tell what's in the background. I'm guessing sand, but I think the common thread today is we're fighting the background. So I would just try to soften this background up again. It looks like there's, you know, it looks like there's actually some distant mountains or something. Now, in Saudi Arabia or wherever you saw this, you know, they're probably not blue, but I bet they look blue from a distance. And so maybe you're putting your mountains in, and that would do it. But it feels to me like this area in here just needs to be softened up. And so I would consider that happening. So I think overall, just form, you know, I feel like there's a lot of kind of black feeling stuff here. And you know, there's a lot of black in this. Let's get this black reduced down a little bit. I think actually might even be more pleasing if it was just some of the sand color. It maybe, I don't know, it's not the right color background. And what I would do is, you know, create some contrast against these light areas and fill that in. And that just will help make his or her beak stand out. And you know, you can you can keep this light in front here against these darks. I would look for a little bit more color intensity, and I would probably intensify the colors right around the focal point, which is the eye. So I, try to get your colors, really vibrant right around where you want people to look, which is up in here and up in here. You've got a lot of stuff on here, and it's okay to have all that, but really intensify it where you want them to go. And it feels to me like maybe this fellow here needs just a little bit of color. There's a principle, and that is where between where dark and light meet, there's what's called some people call it a bed bug line. So you've got, let's say you've got dark and you've got light over here in between there. So you put a little bit of chroma in there, and that just helps it. So if we had a little bit of chroma on this camel in here, that just helped him read like he's got a little bit of color to him, because I'm sure he does, or it does. And then make sure you define some of these key things. I think the eye's nice. I think overall you did a good job. I don't know what this is, but let's use it to our advantage. Maybe, create some color on it, or something to make it stand out. But I keep most of the color in this area, and then soften these edges along here, soften these edges a little bit. I like this strong edge here, and that's going to make that a little bit stronger, but it's a really good job on that. Congratulations. Okay, what do we have next? Okay, we have another landscape, and let's see if we can get through this before my battery dies. Here we have the black and white version. Okay, nothing dead center, that's good. We have a tic-tac-toe board, and we have kind of a high horizon in here. That's kind of good. And this is probably a focal point, so that works out pretty well. When I look at this, I see, and this is, by the way, 𝗙𝗲𝗶𝗱𝗆𝗆 Stapleton in Texas. I can't read it. We'll have to make those bigger in the future. Okay, so what feels to me like is I'm fighting values, because the values are over the road. We got dark values in here, we got dark values in here, and dark values in here, and I don't know where to look. I don't know where my eye should go. My eye naturally wants to go here, but I think what we need to do is figure out how to take some of this white we've got in here and control it and lead the eye. So let's just do that for sake of discussion. Let's take this white, go like that, and then let's take a medium dark and kind of fill this in so that it kind of reads like it's not fighting it all the time. And maybe that's a little bit too extreme, but the idea is that now what's happening is it's leading me in, and I don't have all that brushwork fighting me. We're going to go to the color version of that, but you want to have a good strong dark up here somewhere, a rock or something, a bush, a foreground. So it's really setting up my dark to be darker than this. And then this is going to be less dark. That's less dark back there. So that's pretty good. Let's go to the color version. All right. So I think what's happening here, these are either rocks or lily pads. I can't tell for sure, but let's pick up this blue color and let's carry it. Let's just carry it, smooth it out a little bit, bring it in, and look for a way to just kind of make it a little bit more solid. And then I can't really tell exactly what's happening here, but I would probably look for a little stronger blue, and that sky's got some nice blue in it. So we reflect that. Just try to minimize some of all this detail that's competing with it. And then, if you want, you can have some of these rocks up in front, but you're usually going to see them in the shallow water before. So, we could go and erase that stuff in there. I think, but because my pad is about to go out and so on, I think we need to we'd get some reflection of this green in the water in here. I think that'll help you a little bit, and maybe a little bit in here. And what's happening here is these yellows are the same as these yellows are the same as these yellows. And this mountain is yellow. And so let's first off take care of that mountain. Let's take that mountain and make it either purplish or blue. And now it's going to read like it's a distant mountain. Okay. Now let's take those yellows that are back there and let's mute them back a little bit so they're not quite so strong. You know they're in there. They're not quite so strong. And then these in front are going to be stronger than these in the background. So we're going to mute these back just a little bit in here. And we put some greens in there too. And then we can really strengthen these in here, in here. But the question is, where do you want the eye to go? If you want the eye to go here or here, then maybe you don't strengthen these. I think what you want to do is ask yourself, where do I want the eye to go? I think you could very easily make these, I know you want to put the fall color in everywhere, but maybe you make these a little bit more silhouette-y and standing out here. Now you do have the path kind of going right down the middle. I'd be careful about that. But, and then these are, get some lines in there where your shorelines are. And then back there, you've got a little shoreline and you can put some, some texture in there, not much, but just by doing that, it's going to help it. And then, maybe you enhance it, put a little bit of white here and there on some of this to bring it in. That's what I would do. But I think that, very nice. I like these rocks up in front. I just wouldn't put them all the way back. I think that's what's fighting you. Okay, what else do we have? Okay, we have one more. See if we can do this. All right, this is Ted Smith in North Carolina. Ted, this is really nice. I like the shape of it. It's got a good feel to it. I can tell exactly what it is looking at the black and white. The values are looking good. You have dark values in here. I would darken it up in here. So let me just show you on this. Let's just pick this color dark and let's just make it a little darker. Take this one and make it a little darker. And a couple things in here. That makes those read like they're receding. That's about the only thing I would do there. Compositionally, dead center, we're good. We don't have a problem there. We have compositionally, we have equal thirds. You can do it on any shape. And this is kind of falling into a composition area. So what I might do is I might, just to strengthen that composition, I might take this tree and just move it over here. And then that way, and then take this stuff, and so it just changes it a little bit. The sky, the darks in the sky look a little dark to me, but it's hard to tell. Let's look at the color. Still got Christmas in my head. Well, it is still Christmas, technically, not technically, but okay. So there's a lot going on in here. I think this is what looks like a watercolor. All right, it's lovely. I would, I think, overall, I think it's really lovely painting. I think what I do is I go into the sky, soften up that sky a little bit. Right? Clouds are soft. You don't want a lot of hard edges most of the time on your clouds. You can do a little bit of it, but be a little bit careful about that. And soften that all up. That will help it. And then you've got this area in here, which I can't really tell. It's a lot of light. And maybe it's a little bit of a blue, but maybe we just need to make that a little bluer. So it feels, I can't really tell what's happening there. Maybe it's part cloud or whatever. Then I would probably just look for a way to get a little stronger blue on this distant mountain. Maybe that's a little too much, but maybe we make it a little bit like that. Or maybe, it gets bluer as it goes back. So if I did a mountain here, and then it, comes forward, you get a little darker mountain in between. That, that's how it reads like a mountain. And then this one here should be bluer in the back here. And then this one here should be a little bit darker in the front here. because and these are kind of mirroring each other, so I'd be careful about that. I would, even if that's what you see, I would change one of them a little bit so that you're seeing something a little different. Get some fog in between layers. I think that's nice. You've got that. So that's some fog in here, and then you go in there and you soften that up, and it helps separate things. I think, and now if we look at this, I think this really helps this just by separating that. We get a little of this fog in here, and what's going to happen is it's just going to really make that front stand out, and then the back just kind of blends together. You soften it all up, and it just is going to be stronger in the front. Did you see that? Okay, and then I think these white bushes, they're a little bit distracting. That may be what you saw, but I would consider just maybe darkening that in there or taking them out completely, because they're not really helping a lot. This one here isn't reading, so if you want it to read, then you're going to have to make it a little stronger, put some color in it, do something that's just going to make it stand out a little bit more. Okay, good job on that. All right, what's next? Day after Christmas composition. Yeah, baby. All right, we're going to do two of them. This is called the Santa's hat composition. And you know what a Santa's hat looks like, right? All right, that's a Santa's hat. And so what would a Santa's hat composition be? Well, I'm just kind of making this up. But let's see. We have a Santa's hat going down here. Then we have the ball at the end, which, by the way, could be, a row of trees and a mountain. And then we have a shadow, big shadow going across here. That's kind of ending here. That's the Santa's hat composition. Ho, 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 ho. All right, now we're going to get serious. We're going to do what's called a radiating line composition. Radiating line is essentially, if you look at a composition, it's basically looks like a 60s sunshine poster. And that is, drawing lines to your primary area of composition. So you could have, let's say you had a scene here, and you have a couple of trees and maybe a mountain in the background, and then you could have clouds kind of doing this. And that's a radiating line. It's radiating out. Or you could do, let's say we do let's see, what else could we do? We could do the opposite of that. We could have, trees down here and a little farmhouse. And then we could have like rows of vineyards, right? Something like that. And so that's basically what radiating composition is that basically all things are leading out of one thing into the other. Okay, so I want to remind you guys, first off, again, Merry Christmas. Hope you had a great day. Remind you that January 1st is the last day to sign up. I've been off. Everybody else has been off. I don't even know if there are any seats left. We hardly had any before Christmas. So if you want to go to Winter Art Escape, make sure and sign up for it. Watercolor Live coming up in January 21st. You don't want to miss it. World's largest art conference. Artists from all over the world. Thousands of people attending. You don't want to miss it. It's great if you want to learn or get better at watercolor. And then there's the Plein Air Convention, which the deadline on that is coming up soon too. And we've already sold out the main hotel. This is in the Ozarks this year, and it's going to be easier to drive to than any place we've ever had the convention from most parts of the country. It will be over-attended, I'm guessing. So you want to get your tickets while you can. Make sure to subscribe to this program. We're here every weekday. We're not even missing Christmas, right? Every weekday we'll be here New Year's Day too. And subscribe, and please give me a follow if you don't mind on Instagram or others. Eric Rhoads, Rhoads. And we have a free gift for you because it's Christmas, and we do free gift every day anyway. Free gift today is 97 Incredible Art Secrets, a free video online you can watch instantly. Good thing to do today because you got nothing else to do, right? So go to 97artsecrets.com/ASL. Get this, watch it for free. Now, if you want the DVD, yes, some people do DVDs still. Not very many, but a few. If you want that, we'll ship it to you for whatever the cost of shipping is. We're not going to mark that up and fake it. We're just going to get it in your hands. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. I want to say a special thank you to my producer, Amandine, who is working on Christmas, day after Christmas, and yesterday, Christmas. So thank you. I guess the two of us have to work because we got to be there for you. All right, guys. And thank you to the entire Streamline team for making this a great year. Bye-bye.